Joining us now to speak further about this, South Carolina Republican Congressman Mick Mulvaney, a member of the House Financial Services Committee. Mick, it's so good to have you along here. Now, I understand you were not completely pleased. In fact, you had an amendment set up to defund Mr. Obama's executive action on amnesty, but the Rules Committee and the leadership will not allow a floor vote on your amendment. Why not?
My guess is because it would pass. We did offer an amendment to the Rules Committee last night that would defund the executive amnesty, and my guess is that if it brought to the floor, it would pass, perhaps overwhelmingly, because there's even some Democrats who are privately very frustrated with what the president has done. Not necessarily, they're not as upset about the outcome as they are about the process. But face it, what my leadership will say, if it passes, then it can't pass the Senate. We have a government shutdown, and goodness gracious, we can't have that. So we can't have anything that might lead us down that road. So we're not going to give you a vote on your amendment.
Mick, in your opinion, is House leadership or the collective Republican leadership intent on snatching defeat from the jaws of victory based on that big midterm win, a month ago?
When we talk about this very candidly amongst ourselves here, and what they'll tell you is, look, we're just as angry as you are. We want to have the fight in January or February instead of today. And I'm like, okay, that's fine, but that's not what you said the day that the president gave his speech. You didn't say we were going to fight tooth and nail in January. You didn't say we were going to do everything we can to stop this in January. You just said we were going to fight it. And this is the first chance we have to fight it. We're missing that opportunity. I think it once again makes the establishment wing of the party look out of touch with folks back home. There are people here, myself included, who are just as angry as you and the folks back home over what the president did. And we think it's incumbent upon ourselves to try and do everything that we possibly can. We did that last night, and we just don't have enough numbers on the Rules Committee to get that done.
Mick, for his part, Speaker Boehner talked about the spending bill's impact on immigration, at least the way he sees it. Let's listen and get your reaction.
Without a threat of a government shutdown, this sets up a direct challenge to the president's unilateral actions on immigration when we have new majorities in both chambers of Congress. This is all part of preparing for a new American Congress, which will bring new opportunities to help middle-class families and get our economy moving again.
So, Mick, let's say it moves forward here, and even there's something to that clause about no Homeland Security spending. What does this do in essence? Is there money devoted, appropriated in this package that does fund some semblance of amnesty, at least until the next the review of the next Homeland Security budget?
Oh, listen, that's a great question, because I'm going to surprise you with the answer. No. There's no money in here to fund what the president is doing. The difficulty that I and so many other conservatives have is that we're not taking any steps to defund it. And I know that sounds like it's somewhat circular, but we don't even know where the president's going to take some of this money from. We are not appropriating money so that he can do it. Our difficulty is we are not taking steps to prevent him from doing it. This is the first chance we have to do this, and we're not taking it. John Boehner's point would be, if the government shuts down, then the amnesty can proceed. And he's absolutely 100% right. I never thought for a second that we had the votes to defund the amnesty right now, because the Senate is still Democrat. Most people think that the Senate changes right the day after the election. You and I both know it doesn't. We don't have the votes to defund it right now, but we gave up without a fight, and that is what's so troubling to me and to other conservatives. Now, we send the message that we don't care, and that bothers me.
The nature of your amendment, we've heard talk that Jeff Sessions and some other folks said it was a writer to explicitly state, Mr. President, you can't spend any of these funds on executive changes in immigration. Is that essentially what your amendment was? 30 seconds here.
That's exactly what my amendment was, yes.
And so they rejected that out of hand in Rules Committee. 20 seconds. Rules Chairman Pete Sessions last week talked about, hey, we're not going to depart anybody unless they're really violent felons. Is your fear that the Republican establishment basically lining up with the Obama administration to bring forward a de facto amnesty here, Mick Mulvaney?
We'll find out. The procedural excuses they give for not fighting now go away in January. We'll know the answer in January, and if we give up again then, like many of us fear we do, we'll know the answer to that question.
Well, thankfully, you are not going away, Mick Mulvaney. Thanks for hanging in. On the other side of this break, we'll talk more about this spending bill and the implications. Stay with us here on America's Forum.